Hey there, monkeys. Grab that cup of coffee, kick back, and relax. We'll get started with a SITREP in just a minute. All right. Hey, folks. Mil-Spec Osmic here. It's going to be your SITREP. It is 12/13/2023. We're coming to you live here from the great state of Texas in the Monkey Lounge. As we get into the deets, we're going to talk about cyber attack threats today, a little heavier than usual in terms of our discussion. I was just watching the Dan Bongino show, and I will tell you, he was definitely over the target with his concerns. And, he went into detail. I'm not going to talk about the movie he was discussing because it is a Kenyan movie that is directed by the Kenyan and Big Mike. And so, but he just went into a lot of the logical approach to it all. And the reality is that, that cyber attacks can and will happen here in the United States. We have had a sea of them infiltrating critical infrastructure. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to go into some of the details around it. We're also going to look at the skies as always. We'll kick it off in Skyglass. There is an abundant amount of mil aircraft up today for some crazy reason. Again, it's not about how many, but the what, right? And so we'll look at those. We're going to look at some of the base activity, and we'll just kind of kick it from there. But yeah, what a world we live in. And the cyber thing is a very real threat. By the way, we have a flash sale going on right now over at monkeywerxus.com in the shop. It's actually on soaps. And you want to talk about great little stocking stuffers? We have some amazing soaps that we are on, actually all of them, 20% off right now in the shop. And that won't last long. The soaps will be gone pretty quickly, but we do have a bunch in there. And if you're looking for that perfect little stocking stuffer gift for somebody, come on over there and grab it. We made a QR code right there for you. You can just click on that. It'll take you straight to the site. Again, they're all 20% off, everything in there. So, all right, let's look at the sky and let's talk about the things that are up. Okay. We've got 423 mil aircraft up total around the world, 245 looking over the United States as we speak. We go over to Europe and we just kind of do a back of the napkin. And you can see just from a European perspective, let me back it up so we get all of those in. 108 are still up in Europe. Now, keep in mind, they're 6 hours ahead of us, so they're wrapping up their day. But it is very active and busy. One thing you will notice is the sea of C-17s running in and out of the Middle East. All right. And then this little Glex right here, again, that's a comms bird. And it is, you can see all the little dog houses hanging off of it. A super complex comms bird. Very, very, very cool bird. But, all right. Let me get back over to CONUS. We'll take a look at a couple things. I did put out yesterday on Patreon just a broadcast message. We've got known DoD operations going on in North Texas right now, all of this week. And there have been a lot of videos of the Blackhawks, just like we saw down in Long Beach a couple years back, flying through downtown Dallas, and I mean scooting. And, yeah, a multitude of them. So it's interesting. Like I said, it's something we keep our eyes on because anytime they talk about an exercise, you always know that there's something in the back of your mind that says, maybe not an exercise, okay? But that's how you keep the public from panicking when you just call it everything's an exercise, right? So, all right, but look at this on screen. I've already pulled out almost 50 Text 2s and 20. So we got 70 trainers that I've already stripped out of this. And we're still sitting at 244 aircraft up. Now, look at the H-60s by themselves. And that gives us a little bit of a story. Panhandle, that's going to be a lot of training. But this stuff up here, maybe not so much. Same thing with this in here. And H-60 Blackhawks, that's the ones you want to watch. Keep an eye on, right? Because that's your operator's going to roll out of those. And then I turn that off. And we're going to click on the KC-135s, 15 of those, and the B-76, where are you? We just had them here. There we go, 10 of those. So we got 25 air refuelers. And notice the concentration over the Northeast. Again, this is a good indicator of fighter activity over the United States. All right. Now we'll take away those. And I'm going to go into alphabetical because I want to look at the electronics suite in particular. We've got one E2, which is up, which is a little, it's a Navy, kind of like a little mini small AWACS, advanced warning system. Also does a lot of other things, just like the AWACS, right? So you got the A2s, we got some E3 Sentries up, right? Advanced early warning, there's one there, and it looks like we've got another one over in Europe. Head down a little further, we're going to look for R135s. I'm trying to see if I've got, we only have one R135. The E6s are another one we look for. Not seeing that. So this is what your electronic suite is looking like right now. Not too bad, really. It is, I'll go ahead and hit that into my favorites so that I log it because I don't have that E2 in there. So that part's not too bad. So really, it looks like most of what is up is just the regular stuff. I'm not seeing anything that causes me to go, hey, what's going on here? It's just a heavy flying day. All right. Okay. Now there's a little Gitmo. That's going to be base commander in and out of that area. A little NA headed down south. I don't know who that operates by, but that looks to be headed towards Panama. Okay. Let's get into our watch list as we peel this banana back, and you will see we're sitting over Europe currently. And that little, let me hit pause for a second because it's getting ahead of me. This one right up here at the very top north that I'm pointing to, that's going to be your Spec Ops Uber. All right, so that means you got operators probably coming in and out. It looks to be Germany. All right, notice that little man in the middle circle there by the E3 Sentry. Right, yeah, grabbing somebody's data. Okay, and then that... a little Italian drone, okay? And then there's another drone. That looks to be, let's see, and then we've got the Iron and the C-130, probably a gunship over Israel. Let's break over to the United States, and I've got a bunch of survey flights that are up. Not a high number, but just peel it. That's all survey flights right there, okay? So let's put those back, and we'll close them out and hide them. I'm leaving the Swift Airs in on this one, but we're just going to take a look at what is up. And so we got some 737. That's the Department of Energy. That's nuclear security kind of thing, right? And you can see little Swift Air. They're in the mix this morning. Let me get those out just because we're going to talk about them more here in a minute. Then we go down. We've got this one. That's going to be a little Dash 8 coming out of Puerto Rico down towards Rincon. And then we got a little Navy P3 also to the north of, it looks like Colombia, I think. That is where that was. A little Forge. That's going to be your Marine Corps. I don't see anything else up that really catches my eye. It is a busy day, that's for sure. So, all right, let's take a look at the Intel side of the house. And stop that one. We don't have Intel. That's actually going to be, I'm looking at your Graybirds, and we're going to look at those closer in a minute. So let me go away from that because I didn't grab the right screen. Let's just grab the Ruskies, and you'll see there is a continuing flight that goes in and out of Egypt. That's the one we want to pay close attention to. It comes down across Iran. It's a daily flight, but it goes into Egypt near Cairo, and it just does this over and over and over. So the Ruskies are definitely keeping their finger on the pulse in the region, right? And that's just what we see in the sky. I guarantee they got naval assets within the Mediterranean and the Red Sea and all over the place too. All right. Okay. Notice this broken trace that takes them down into, that's over Ethiopia, but just boop, disappears. They're down there somewhere. Don't know where they went, but you can see that's the Ruskies headed down into South Africa. Now your gray birds. This is your agency, boys, and this is important because notice where this flight goes to. We're going to look closer here in just a minute as I show you this. That's out of Lauderdale. I won't go into any more detail around the Lauderdale side of the house, but just notice as we get down, it rounds a horn and it goes into Guantanamo Bay. That's your agency, boys, all right? Now, those flights come out of Washington Dulles, but there's another one that comes out of New York. You can see that's pretty close to Trump. It's not Trump, though, okay? That is in and out of Lauderdale. They've got an operation down there. So just notice this one, right? You can see, go a little further north, just between New York City and Bridgeport. Little spot there, in and out, gray birds. And then that right there out of Washington. Now, that is important just because that tells you that there's still a lot going on down in Guantanamo Bay we don't know about, right? And they wipe the flights usually, so it's you have to catch them. This one they didn't wipe, which is surprising to me. I'm sure it'll get wiped, right? And we're still looking at the gray birds. These are agency flights. But just note this one coming out of Hano, right? Broken trace headed towards, that probably came out of Asia. If I had to go, maybe Japan or somewhere there in Asia. All right, R-135s. Now, this one right here, that's going to be training op. It's a training aircraft. And then this, I don't know what that is, but that looks to be like they're looking for something. Same thing with that one, down over the border, more than likely, that side view. This is R-135s. Again, they can track an object the size of a soccer ball from 300 miles away. All right. So, then here's Europe. Now, notice this one. Getting brazen. Jumping right up there, looking at, that's Russia. Now, imagine if that was Florida and that was the Ruskies coming right off our coastline like that. We would probably be thinking, hey, you're getting a little close there, bud. All right. And then you can see a broken trace. Looks to be coming out of Crete in terms of the takeoff. But notice that one just disappears there too. All right. All right. That's R-135s. And we'll get over here to Asia. And they just got one coming out of Okinawa, but it went north and disappeared over South Korea. But you know they're probably looking very closely at North Korea. That trace that goes down into the water is not accurate. Just disregard that, okay? All right, so we talked about that. We talked about the gray birds. Let me do this. I'm going to show you. This is Guantanamo Bay. This is the activity. We'll go through the list real fast just to show you the lineup. Normal flight, base commander, normally not shown on the board. Same thing here, normally not on the board. United Airlines, that's probably, it's coming out of Jacksonville. Could be a rotation. Amerijet, normal flight. This one coming out of Lauderdale's normal flight, right? They just rotate them. Notice these are very nice aircraft that they're flying in and out of Lauderdale. They're not like some little, you know, I mean, that's a Cessna Citation 5, which is a high dollar, nice aircraft. That right there, that's your gray birds coming out of Washington Dulles. Now, let me look. I want to show you. We go down a little further. Do you see any other flight that's by them? Remember, I showed you two. One that was up there between Brookhaven and New York City that came down. Yeah, not on the board. Those are the ones you have to watch because that's the one that's important, right? The Dulles thing, maybe coming out of Washington Dulles, maybe important, but the ones where they deliberately take them off the board, that's the ones that are important, all right? There's something going on there, and we will never know what, all right? Until we're all down there together. Okay, so anyway, let's get over here to the Swift Air flights. We'll take a look at this as we run through it. This is what's currently up. Just notice the green dots into the interior of our country. If I go look at the board and we take a look at the Swift flights, 24 last 3 days, and just notice, again, interior of the country, down from the borders, side of the house, and then up and in, right? North Carolina, which their base operations is, I believe, out of North Carolina, but I don't think that's it. Pittsburgh, center of Ohio, Chicago, right? Des Moines. We go over this way. Yeah, you can see right there, Massachusetts. Look at the sea of them going into New York and the little island out there. Yeah. And then up to Canada. So they're getting their little share of guys. All right. That's your distribution network right there. And then look at the C-17s. We'll just kind of cover those. So we're getting into the deets. Notice the difference this time. Very focused. 3 places on the left of the United States. And when I say the left of the United States, it's almost literal. Okay. And then look, the ports, but then look at the little spread out over the Northeast. That's the ones you got to worry about, right? Because all of a sudden you're like, hey, you know what? I noticed a lady behind the dude at Costco was walking behind her husband in a full burqa, and you just start to see them everywhere, and we are seeing them everywhere. All right. Now this is the Middle East, and just notice where it's not going. Yeah, Israel, right? I pointed out the other day when we were looking at Dover, Israel's coming to pick up their own stuff. That's how bad we are and how bad we treat them. All right. Okay. Broken traces right here, right? Those are flights that are getting disappeared. Yeah. All right. In and out of Germany. Okay. All right. Let's move on from that. Let's get into some of the other aspects of this. This is Flashbang scheduled today. And just notice I'm going to go down a little further. Yesterday we had old, I don't even know what you want to call, little Napoleon in there asking for money. This guy, he has not backward at all about asking for money. Of course, he shouldn't be. I mean, he's been seasoned at doing, his thing for so long that if you don't know what I'm talking about, right here, right? Yeah, you'll never get the image out of your head. Look at this guy. And then the perverted side here coming out that you can see how he is not backward about asking for money. Mm-hmm. Yes. Pretty sick. But here he is if you want to get a better look in his little green uniform that he always wears everywhere he goes, except probably when he's on his $74 million yacht. But this is, here he is right here. Last night, Zelensky meets with the defense contractors in D.C. during the bid for U.S. taxpayer money. This is just unacceptable. I mean, the reality is, hopefully, we've got some lawmakers up there that will stop this, but they'll start pushing it through where we can't see it. It'll be black programs that are, blank checkbook. Remember, the deep state cannot afford to lose their operation in Ukraine. They've been there since 1948, and that's their stronghold. We figured it out, and you can just follow the money. It tells you exactly all you need to know. All right, so that's where we are with that one. Again, just comes in and meeting with these are, CEOs and for like the Lockheeds and the Northrops and et cetera, coming in here, leveraging the White House. And of course, who teed them up to these guys? Yeah, Flashbang himself. All right. So anyway, it doesn't stop until we make it stop. Okay. Just remember that. All right. Okay, let's move on over to the really other important things here. Pentagon has a workaround to send Ukraine arms despite aid stalemate. This isn't important. It's important just because they're taking your tax dollars. That's why it's important. It's a Bohica moment, right? Here we go. $4.6 billion under what's called the Presidential Drawdown Authority, yet it only has $1 billion to buy new equipment to replace the old. So he can pull from this, and that's kind of their workaround. That's what they're trying to do. But again, we're at the tune of about $150 billion into Ukraine with no real ceiling other than people making them stop because, we the people starting to get the shakedown by certain agencies to pay more, right? Okay. This is a very real threat, and this is something we have to pay very close attention to. Here's one. Major cyber attack on Ukrainian mobile operator disrupts banking services and air raid sirens. Now, this becomes important because they could come in, and they is the unknown, right? And it's surgical. They get through the firewall, and then the next thing you know, your bank accounts all through one particular institution can get zeroed. They can steal money from you. They can steal identities. They can just shut your bank down so that they can't operate. There's all kinds of things that can be done from a cyber perspective. And yes, critical infrastructure. We've heard about all these attacks that have happened over the course of the last 2 years within the United States. And you want to talk about things that can kill you, right? I mean, this is a very real threat. And for example, if you were to have a total outage here in the United States, they say that after a certain period of time, about 90% of the people would be dead. They would just die because you have no water, you have no food, you have no transportation, you have no comms, you have nothing. And people, that are sick, that need help, that need doctors, that need all the other stuff, yeah, it's not good. In fact, it's worse for the United States because we are so advanced compared to other places in the world that where you go to an India and they lose everything, they've been living like that forever and a day. So it doesn't impact them as much as it would here in the United States, where we lose our internet for an hour and we're freaking out. So it's pretty bad. But then we get over to this side of it. Check this out. China's cyber army infiltrating the U.S. This is a report. They're saying that this PLA is the name. It's China's, CPLA, but it's PLA. It's China's People's Liberation Army infiltrated services such as water utilities in Hawaii, oil and gas pipelines in on the West Coast. And then they also attempted to infiltrate Texas power grid. And so we know they've been successful. We've watched water utilities get shut down. And you think for a minute, oh, well, you know what? The U.S., man, we've got this, giant plan in case something happens. That's not the case. And that's what Dan Bongino is talking about, is the fact that we all think, or most of us don't, but there are a lot of people that think that the U.S. government has everything locked down. They got a plan for a plan for a plan. And the reality is, it doesn't work that way. As soon as things start going hot, they forget about the plan. They go into panic. Go look at 9/11, look at Katrina, look at every instance where the United States has had to react to something. Hawaii, Maui, for example, right? How dismal was that? Fires in California, where there is a needed response. You expect to see a response, and they're all looking at each other like a deer in the headlight. They don't know how to handle this stuff. And when all of a sudden it goes hot, you and I, you better know it. We're on our own. And if you think the government's going to come in and be like, oh, here, we'll restore your power and your electricity, they're not. They're not for the people, by the people anymore. You have to remember that. They're for themselves, by themselves, right? Self-appointed, and they stay in forever and a day, and they basically are just stealing money from us, and that's all that really matters at this point. They go in to get wealthy, and they look at themselves, right? They're self-saturated individuals. And so, but this is, this is real. Could the guys that are coming across the border that we see, that are just tons and tons of them, like 100,000 now, I think is what the number was, that have been across our border that we know of. Now think about that. What if they're in and hackers that are already inside the United States, right? They don't even have to get through a main firewall. They just work it from inside. I'm telling you, it's a big threat, all right? And you go over here, there are several cybersecurity trends that truly deserve top attention when we look back at 2023, and they will get it. Meanwhile, cyber attacks against critical infrastructure quietly grow despite the lack of major attention. We don't ever hear about it because they don't want you panicking when they, you hear that your identity was stolen, right? But they're saying reports of cybercrime surged 23% to more than 94,000 in the financial year to June. And that's the Australian Cybersecurity Center. So that's just in Australia alone, okay? But this is happening worldwide. We just saw it happen. Banking systems, right? Look at take for example the airlines. You don't think much about it, right? You remember Southwest last Christmas, where all of a sudden they were having issues. The FAA, right? All of a sudden having issues. Everybody's ground stop. Nobody can go anywhere. All right, big things happening there, and this is very important because you look at the mail system, and that's how they get their stuff. Right, a lot of their stuff gets moved from the airline industry. Right, they put them on commercial airlines. That's probably 90% of the stuff that moves. All of a sudden, that stops. And it doesn't have to be broad brush hitting everything and knocking down power and all the other stuff. They hit it in pockets, and it's disrupting things. But your bank system or any of the critical infrastructure like electricity or the transportation that's moving throughout the United States and around the world, doesn't take much. They get in, they disrupt it, and now everybody's stuck. So here we go. Russian hackers targeting 13 nations. I wonder who those 13 nations are. Probably, if I had to guess, the NATO countries with a major campaign. We're going to look closer at that here in a minute. This is the cyber threat map over at Checkpoint. You can see all of the attacks back and forth. Look at somebody just popped one off in Israel from the U.S. Look at Germany. Look at how many attacks are hitting Israel right now. Right? It's insane. That's just one company. Now you go over here to Bitdefender, and you can see the attacks, infections, and spam, how this thing rolls. The little white deals are spam, not a big deal. But the reds are attacks, and they're everything from Trojan horse to infections, all kinds of different things. You can see them bouncing across, and guess who's getting the biggest brunt of it? United States, top of the list. Very one-directional. All right. Now, let's get over to NOTAMs. We'll take a look at that. But this cyber thing is very, very real, and there's not a lot you can protect yourself from on it, okay? So that's what you have to remember. So say you have, you keep your phone in some type of a little Faraday bag, right? That's great. But guess what happens when something takes out, say like an EMP, where people think that may be the big threat? Well, yeah, your phone's protected, but guess what's not? The cell tower. So you still have no cell service. So it goes well beyond just what we think we can cover here on the home front. All right, here are your NOTAMs. Just notice you got another, looks to be atmospheric river coming into the West Coast. Got a lot of little boxes happening all over the United States as usual. Don't see anything that catches my eye off the top here. Got some missile boxes over here. And of course, all of this is still covered up as it always is. So we'll move on from that. Biggs Army Airfield. Let's see what we've got on the move. Since we've just got a couple more minutes, we're going to go into the stuff that really matters. Not seeing anything but one Sun Country heading to Miami. Eastern Airlines coming in from Kansas City. Probably immigrant related, if I had to guess. I'll get over here to Dover and just looking for, got one B703. That's the Israeli Air Force 703 coming in. Atlas Air, not seeing nothing really catching my eye there. Germany, the important piece of this, you got a Spar 85, right? That's going to be Dignitary. We've got a camber flight coming in, 777. Black Wolf, we have not seen that one in a while. It seems to be bouncing in and bouncing out. That, I think, is a comms bird, but I'm not 100% on it. It's been a hot minute since I've looked at it, but usually we see it in Iraq, okay? And then another camber flight looks to be coming on the arrival board coming from Portland International. All right. Looks like we got one leaving, headed to Doha. All right. And then RZE Poland, this is your forward operating base. I'm just looking for anything that catches my eye, and I'm not seeing a lot. As a matter of fact, I don't see anything. Okay. All right. There are your camber flights for today. Very spread out. Europe and the Middle East. We get over here to the NCR and just notice got some stuff moving in Asia. All 747s except for one of those national cargos. And kind of broad brush all over the place. Get over to this side. This is going to be your Brits and in and out of Cyprus, in and out of what looks to be, that one's coming out of, I don't even know where that is off the top of my head. It could be Pakistan maybe. But anyway. All right. Okay, Western Global coming back from Alaska, headed down to Los Angeles. 747 headed to Chicago. That's over here. That one's heading to LA. That's MD-11. So no telling what's on that one. Nothing really up. I got one flight coming out of the headquarters there. And that's going to be actually, I say coming out of the headquarters. Maybe it is. Maybe it went round trip there. So that's all I'm seeing is the round trip side, destination unknown. But anyway, that's going to be NATO. And we already talked Guantanamo Bay. So, all right, well, listen, I flew through the base stuff just because we went a little longer than I expected on the news content around the cyber attack stuff. But we got to pay attention to that. Very important. Make sure you're prepared and you have a plan because any scenario could unfold. And it doesn't have to be on a broad national basis. It can be some little small community that gets zapped. So, all right, listen, that's going to do it. You guys keep that powder dry and stay frosty. And remember, if you want peace, prepare for war. That's it. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. You can check out the latest gear and products by selecting the QR code on your screen now or go to monkeyworksus.com.